Hey everyone, I hope you're doing really well. Today I'm going to talk about the World Cup and how I think there is so much greed surrounding this festival that unites the world. By the way, I'm a huge football fan. This isn't to talk bad about football in general or to talk bad about the World Cup, but it is kind of to talk about how corporate greed can take over and some of my sentiment and thoughts surrounding this area. So it's something I've really enjoyed watching over the past decade, from South Africa over 10 years ago to Brazil to Dubai and Qatar, and now here in the United States. I've always enjoyed watching it. And this year I've been extra, keeping an eye on everything, just extra keen on all the corrupt stuff that we're seeing happen surrounding this game. And what my view and my thoughts are about what could be done about it. I think human nature does naturally tend to get closer to greed once when we get a taste of it, right? Like you could live this kind of life, you could have this kind of car, this kind of yacht, this kind of jet. And people, as much as people say they won't ever get into that, it's very hard to resist temptation. So one of the things I've noticed in terms of the corruption was some of the dynamic ticket pricing. So you guys know about this when it comes to airfares, right? If you look at an airfare and then you check 30 minutes later for that same airfare on that same computer with the cookies, you will see likely that price has increased significantly. So the tickets, like the same way in FIFA, they're artificially scarce. So they're creating this artificial scarcity to get the prices to go higher. And then they're taking large cuts when buying and selling on the platform. So many people did not even receive the tickets they wanted. So they said, I want these tickets. And then they're getting put in these bad, backwater parts. So tickets often were going for thousands of dollars. And, these people, there's transaction fees on both sides, 10 to 20% transaction fees. And also, we're seeing a large percentage of these seats sit empty. So there's manipulation to get higher prices from people, as well as you're seeing, if you guys saw that South Korea game in Mexico, it looked like there was a lot of seats that were wide open, right? And if there was a true mechanism, they would have lowered those prices for those seats. Why didn't they? Why didn't they lower the prices so more people can get in? I don't know. I think it's greed. So greed at the finest, this is known as the people's game. A game where you just need a football. You can be in the poorest country on earth. Look at Ivory Coast. Look at Curacao, some very poor countries. And they're making it to these final tiers, right? So it's not just about, if you think about it, it's not just about the money of the country. If it came down to the money of the country, literally the United States and China would probably be the best teams in the world. That's not what it's, and same with Qatar. That's not the case at all. In fact, I can make the case that China, they didn't even make it to the World Cup, but United States, we're maybe just cutting into the top 10, maybe. And Qatar, they're not even top 30, as we witnessed recently. So that's one of the things I love about football is it's, all you need. And then you can have a small island like Curacao. Maybe they get top 20. You never know, right? So it's kind of cool. So I think this manipulation and pricing, it's just to get higher prices from people. Large prices on food and drinks, as you guys are aware. Now, you guys are probably rolling your eyes to this part. Like, okay, Paul, like every stadium in the United States has high food prices, concession prices, nachos, whatever, beer. $20 for those Michelob Ultras, that's commonplace. Sometimes it even gets higher than that. And imagine this, like, I know you guys are probably like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, that's how it always is. Well, first of all, you're conditioned for that. Second of all, imagine if you have a weaker currency, like you have the Mexican peso or Colombian peso or Argentine, or you're from Britain or something, and you're having a weaker currency and you're trying to buy a beer. Well, it's going to feel way more expensive, right? So It's painful. It's painful to buy concessions, something such as water or just a simple hot dog. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. And, that's just how it always is. And, there's no surprise there. But I'm sure other people are kind of getting the sticker shock as well. The transportation is expensive. The parking is expensive. Now, again, no surprise here, but FIFA didn't subsidize any of this. They could have, and they didn't, right? Like, I know they were saying for the New Jersey, it's $100 train ride just to go a few miles west. People were complaining about that. Zero subsidizing, right? They're already paying $2,000 for a ticket. Now they're paying another $100 just to get from point A to point B. And then the hydration breaks. I know we joke about it. We drink extra beer during a hydration break, but you guys have to admit that those hydration breaks are really, really annoying. I mean, it takes away from the flow of the game, all due to money, right? I mean, so the real reason is FIFA wants more money. They want more sponsorship, commercial time, and more money from sponsors. That's why you're seeing these happen several times throughout the game. And these never existed before, right? So when it comes to greed and money, I think, you start to see these actors kind of take advantage of the situation. And that's FIFA here. They're taking advantage of the situation at the expense of your time, at the expense of the player's time. And, it's just how it is. It's just how it's gotten. So here's another thing that I found interesting, and I don't know if you guys knew about this, but the sponsors, you see it across every wall, whether that is Visa, Lay's, Michelob, etc. But I don't know if you knew, there were certain companies like Heinz Ketchup. They did not allow them to have their ketchup be served to people because they didn't pay for sponsorship. So just imagine ordering fries at the stadium and there was like Heinz Ketchup there. And because Kraft Heinz didn't pay FIFA to be a sponsor, they couldn't use their name. Well, that's stupid. Like, think about it. That's just who they are. Like, that's just like saying, Coke, or just saying like even something less subtle, like, oh, this is just the brand of the refrigerator we're putting the Cokes in or something. They're not paying the money, so they're not getting front and center. I find that like so tedious and hair splitting. I get it. Like, FIFA needs to make money and this is their big event every 4 years, but like, come on, this is ridiculous. So, I think the sponsors have been more front and center. And I think that the unfortunate thing with FIFA too is it's like a lot of it's about the commercial actors and less about the supporters more than ever. Like, if this was really to help the supporters, there would be 0 seats unfilled. Literally, you'd be able to go there. You'd see every seat filled. And because it's not like that, that's where you're seeing the empty seats, right? I get it. There's only so many people that can get into the stadium, right? And I get why, they fill out and you have to pay the highest price if that's the case. But if there's empty seats, come on, that means that you're pricing too high, right? You're pricing way too high. So I don't know if you guys knew this too. FIFA is a nonprofit. Where's all the money going? Well, if they're charging, 30, 50, 60, 70,000 plus for seats, I think a lot of this money is actually going to those 10 to 50 million plus salaries. I think it's going to overpaying for certain vendors. I think there's a lot of kind of things behind the scenes that we don't see that it's going to, right? Because they can't show any profit. But look, that money, that $50 million would have gone for profit, and now instead it's going to an individual. Look at, it's OPEX, it's a salary, right? It's cash out the door. We didn't make a profit. Yeah, you didn't make a profit, but several people that ran FIFA did, right? So you're also seeing huge price gouging at nearby hotels and venues. Essentially, it's corporate greed at the finest. And this price gouging, you're actually seeing FIFA booked large blocks of these hotel rooms and they're keeping the prices high. I think the big solution for all this, guys, it's not to say down with the big corporate, down with this. It's just to have more competitors to FIFA, right? Why does it need to be one? I know that it's globally recognized and everyone knows how great they've been in the past supporting these events and creating these events. But I think, genuinely speaking, the biggest key to solving this is to have a competitor to FIFA come up. When one player gets too big, you need competition to knock them down and keep them in line. If you don't, they're going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and people will keep paying the price. Can you imagine having twice as many hydration breaks? Can you imagine prices doubling next time? Can you imagine, having to spend a year of your salary on a ticket? That's what some people are doing, right? So just something to think about. Now, when the power goes unchecked for so long, they can do literally anything. They're proving it. We need less greed-driven exploitation and more of that unified global festival. We need everyone to come together. That's what this is about. This brings the world together, this sport, right? And I just hope that there aren't people that are extracting and rent-seeking from the situation at the expense of others. I know it happens, and that's just the world we live in, but, the solution, I gave it. We need a competitor to FIFA, and we need a global competitor to FIFA. How does that happen? I don't know, but that's the solution from my view. Anyways, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Are you enjoying some of the FIFA sports? Do you like watching it? I really do. I just think that, we as people need to call it out. That's what I'm doing right now. And I think it's good to kind of speak transparently on the matter. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one.